Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know that parents' participation in the workforce, especially women, is closely tied to the ability to find suitable and affordable childcare. One mother in Antigonish, who is struggling to find a space right now, said, "I would like to work full-time, but I've been staring down the barrel of the gun now of having to quit." And I'll table that. The owner of another daycare related the story of a mother who was crying, saying that if we couldn't take him, she'd lose her job, and I'll table that. According to them, this conversation is a daily occurrence. So, Mr. Speaker, access to childcare is crucial for a healthy workforce and a healthy community, and I'll ask the Premier again, will he ensure that no more Nova Scotian families have to choose between work and childcare?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And these are heartbreaking situations, and there's other scenarios too where people just say it's more financially effective for our family if one doesn't work instead of paying for childcare. So we know affordability is a big part of the equation. We know access is a big part of the equation, and that's why we're with the federal government, with the framework we have. We're working with the operators of this province to make sure that there is access to affordable childcare from one end of this province to the other. That is our only goal, Mr. Speaker. We're looking at solutions for those situations where there's challenges. We don't want to lose any spaces in this province, Mr. Speaker. We want more.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party under first supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, it looks like we will be losing spaces. When the Premier and his colleagues formed government and undertook responsibility for the future of this sector, they were well aware that over half of this province's childcare providers were privately owned, and that sustaining these childcare spaces was essential. The Canada-Nova Scotia Early Learning and Childcare Agreement explicitly states it will be important as we transform our early learning and childcare system that we do not destabilize the sector to the point that families no longer have access to care in their community, and I'll table that. We are now hearing that as many as 25% of existing centres will have to soon close their doors. Can the Premier explain why this government has failed to work with their federal counterparts and childcare providers to prevent this reality?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm going to draw the line there. I absolutely do not agree that we have failed to work with the federal government. I absolutely do not agree that we have failed to work with the industry and the sector. There are many discussions going on. Over 200 meetings have happened. Absolutely, it is true that there are some private operators who are, looking for specific solutions. We're working with them. There are also many who are happy. I've received many letters from private operators who are delighted, was a word that was used in one of them, with what's happening here. So we are looking for a solution that cuts across the entire sector, absolutely, for sure. Different situations are unique. We'll work with them. We want solutions. We want access to affordable childcare in this province, across the entire province. There are difficult discussions. There are difficult situations. There are unique situations. But I want Nova Scotians to know that our focus is very singular, and that is access to affordable childcare for every Nova Scotian.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party under final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, one of the main challenges still faced by childcare centres is recruiting and retaining ECEs due to chronic low wages in the sector. The Canada-Nova Scotia Early Learning Childcare Agreement, that agreement again, expressly states that the new compensation framework was to use, and I quote, living wage / self-sufficiency standards as a minimum, and I'll table that. Under this government's new wage scale, most ECEs will still earn below a living wage. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier adjust the wage scale to ensure that all ECEs will earn a living wage?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And wages are a primary focus on this. We know that there are labour shortages across the province, and are part of it for sure. There's been a lot of discussions in the wage format that's come forward for sure. We'll look for ways to improve wages across, raise the standard of living across this province. That's one of our, that's a primary goal of our government. But the actual wage discussions that have come out in this first round, that's the result of a number of discussions, and I certainly know that we want to make sure that people are properly compensated. Caring for our children is the greatest responsibility in this province.